11/17/2019, Ford versus Ferrari, corporate hate and envy, and the true triumph of art. I never thought that I would identify with a macho 1960s race car driver, but art makes strange bedfellows. I'm Ken Miles. Henry Ford II competed with Enzo Ferrari in the 1960s. Ford envied Ferrari, but envy is too weak a word to completely describe the feeling. Ford hated Ferrari because Ferrari was everything that Ford was not. Ferrari was an artist of auto racing and design. Ford was the son of a genius who inherited a company. Ferrari held Ford in a justified, if less than heroic, contempt. This exacerbated Ford's hatred. Ford did what all mediocrities do. He couldn't define achievement by the fruits of his applied talents, intelligence, and character. So he defined it as dominance over other people. If you can't master an art, your will to power will be satisfied with power over others. The victories of the mediocre corporate climber are Pyrrhic ones. I feel pity for the mediocre, the Salieri's of the world, the men and women who are born ordinary, but are smart enough to know excellence when they see it. They are left with no option but deny artists their due within the organizations that they control, but don't really lead. Artists lead. Mediocrities manage. The corporatists use the true artists for a time. They need them to get actual work done. But then they discredit and discard the artist. The credit must be theirs. They surround themselves with other mediocrities who compete for partial power in their organizations in the hopes of one day sitting on the top of nothing, of something very big and rich that gets its immediate way, big temporary shows of power and success that on closer inspection are revealed to be voids of negation. Ken Miles was independent and rebellious, but initially naive about the jealous corporate haters. He was supported by other useful executives to Ford, Carroll Shelley, and Lee Iacocca, who appreciated Miles's art and who realized that nothing great is ever done by committee. Artists can collaborate, but that collaboration never involves subordination to groupthink. It involves each person bringing individual and personal genius to his or her role and harmonizing the music that each brings to the symphony. Iacocca, Shelley, and ultimately Miles saw the lies and duplicity of the corporate power players as part of the price of creative admission. They dealt with it as part of their jobs. Shelley and Iacocca were able to continue from that stance. Miles was more of a pure artist. He stopped compromising. His art couldn't coexist with the hateful, mendacious, green-powered envy. Miles sacrificed his life for his art. Martyrdom isn't so rare. We all sacrifice our lives for something. Henry Ford II sacrificed it to hate and envy. Trump smeared Ambassador Yovanovitch because he needed her out of the way. Her real anti-corruption efforts made his fake ones impossible. But he also smeared her because she was everything that he could never be. Trump hates Yovanovitch and all people like her. He'd hate me if he knew me. Trump took Yovanovitch's title and sullied her reputation, but she received a standing ovation of appreciation at the end of her testimony. All the money and power in the world could not destroy people's enthusiasm for the real thing. The mediocre can mock, condescend, dismiss, and slander. They can withhold official credit. They can put people in tough financial straits. They can even murder. What is beyond their ability is the power to destroy art or artists. The artist touches eternity, and people love the artist for it. The mediocre chase success, a poor substitute for love. The artist loves and is loved, time and time again. Love is the energy of life. The mediocre are walking suicides, exiles from life itself. I am blessed. I matriculated through all of the corporate duplicity and now work in a metaphoric room of my own. Ferrari disdained Ford's power and wealth, but he still thought it was something real. He wanted to beat it. That's a waste of time. Let the dead bury their own dead. Shelley and Iacocca thought they needed to work within the mediocre power structure in order to make a living. They probably did. They were generous benefactors of artists. Love is more important than art. Everyone cannot make art. Everyone can love. It must have been tough for Henry Ford II to be the son of a genius, a legacy that he was ill equipped to follow. The job of his life was to work his way to love, to let go of competition with his father. He didn't pull it off, and ultimately the only thing that his father passed down to him was autocracy. I am Ken Miles. I'm almost embarrassed by how much love that I've received in my life. I never felt that I had to make a name for myself or be in charge in order to be loved. I have a name. Parents, friends, family members, audiences, colleagues, students, readers have really loved me. Bullying bosses, cunning Judases exploiting my generosity and innocence, and weak colleagues who fear and despise what I am can't take anything real away from me. They can only cheat me out of mirages in a universe of illusion. They deny me only the respect of hell. Heaven, the earth, and the regions of purgatory belong to me. The kingdom of the mediocre is a dark art magic trick. It seems so big and substantial, and absolutely nothing is there. I was naturally endowed with many gifts that I take no credit for. We don't choose who we are. We grow into our essential natures, or more precisely, how to live within those natures. No one can fundamentally alter reality, no amount of money, no powerful megaphone, no base of political support can change what is. I used to wish when I was young that I wasn't an artist. I wish that I was an accountant or businessman. I thought things would be so much easier, more money, fewer life disruptions. I was a fool. Life isn't easy for anybody. Life bestows a gift and a responsibility. It doesn't come with a user's manual. It involves understanding limits and differences, joy and sacrifice. Life in general, and my life in particular, is the seat of humbling and awesome power, and challenges that, when accepted, lead to an expansion of consciousness and possibility and paradoxical participation in eternity and loss. Simultaneously, we live and we die. We are nothing and we are everything. We are a speck in infinity and the center of it all. The same old story, the fight for love and glory, the case of do or die, doesn't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Henry Ford II is the answer to a trivia question. Ken Miles is an inspiration. Miles lived life. He didn't try to conquer it. The Henry Ford II types got it all wrong. Christ said to forgive them. They don't know what they do. I think they do know. They're just afraid to find out the alternative. Illusions are tough things to discard. They would rather hold tightly to answers we suspect are wrong than risk finding something better. An illusion of a bird in the hand is better than two real birds in the bush. People aren't naturally lazy. They fear work. We meet ourselves in work. What if we aren't as grand as our scam? Laziness is fear of oneself. Better to bully and lie than take on the eternal responsibility of the center of the universe and the parallel insignificance of a dot in the ocean. Better to be bigger than life than the intense concentration of life. Live with knowledge of our own mortality. To love persons, places, and things deeply, depths and depths of all encompassing loves that we will lose one by one or in one fell swoop as life abandons us, always abruptly. Well, we'll always have Paris, sort of. We all have jobs to accomplish to achieve our full humanity. I had to learn to embrace my essential nature as an artist and free myself from taking the envy and hatred of the poor, stymied souls who have created artificial love and excellent substitutes. When I was young, I had to learn not to lower my head and worry about whether I made the mediocre feel bad. Then I had to learn to not be distracted by their unjust attacks. Next, I had to learn not to compromise with them. Then I had to learn to love them, to transcend my rage over what they were, and to own what my purpose is in the world. Finally, they began to disappear. I drove past a place that used to hold painful memories for me yesterday. I didn't notice that until I traveled a few more miles. When I was aware that I passed the place, the recollection was accompanied by no discernible feeling. I was not hurt, aggrieved at injustice, angry, or numb. I felt nothing. My compassion for the mediocre people of envy and hatred has taken on a detached and distant quality. There is nothing I can do for them. For me, Henry Ford II has died, and Ken Miles lives. My soul's attention is turned almost completely to the joys, sorrows, problems, and victories of those who love. Eventually, I'll die too, and that will be that. None of it will make any difference, and all the difference in the world. Copyright 2019, Richard Thomas.